bring the 4 chairs to the stage. We're going to go into our panel. We're about 20 minutes behind, but I think it's still good to have a panel and we can maybe make up the time later. I want to welcome Chrise de Tournay back to the stage. She spoke yesterday from Zero Waste USA. We're going to move into our global case study and solution panel discussion with Q&A. And we have 20 minutes for that. And we would also need Rodrigo and Paul and Antonio back to the stage as well. Chris. Yeah. Here you go.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you, all 4 of you, for such wonderful presentations. I walked away with a ton of questions. I'm going to start it off and then, of course, take questions from the audience. But so, Jackie, thank you for taking one for the team. It is really important that you've got to be tough and strong to do this work. So a lot of my questions, or well, most of them are really going to be through the lens of how do you see your work being able to help South Florida? Because that's why we're here in this wonderful region, in a state that seems to fight against progress around zero waste. So I know strides are being made, and that is incredibly gratifying to hear. For you, what do you see about I see it down here as a grassroots movement would be very important. So what are some of the things that you can see that you have done that's been successful, successful approaches to getting people involved to raise their voices? Excuse me, as I lose mine.
Thank you. Well, I gave one example was talking to our public works department. I think it's really important to have those partnerships with the actual people that are dealing with the waste, and what you can do. I think it's a unique situation here in Florida, with it being a preemptive state. But it's really reassuring. I've been working with folks from Oceana that are working on some of the stuff that you can do within, say, government buildings, like federal buildings, and change some of these things, schools, and working with students. I also believe public awareness, just raising public awareness, and we do that with film screenings. And I've also seen some really great op-eds coming out, and just kind of because there's so much misinformation. So I think we have a unique opportunity here at a grassroots level to really educate the public on the real issues around plastic. Unfortunately, I mean, I think it was really great that the sustainability tour that we did at University of Miami. It gives me hope to see what's happening with that, with businesses and how they're filling that gap, and also it's a perfect pilot in campuses. So those are some of the things that we really advocate for, and we try to highlight with Plastic Pollution Coalition to uplift those stories of actual real solutions. And a lot of it is just really practical, hands-on, grassroots movements. Last time I was here, there was, I forget which organization, so I apologize for that, but they had hosted a kind of a sustainability tour in Cayocho and a cleanup. And I thought that was really great to engage with local businesses and give them business, and also clean up and see, and get that data and talk to those businesses. And I think that's the best we can do is create those communities and really talk about the real future and how we're going to be working together towards getting away from all of this waste. You think you have a lot of it going on already, and you're building it right now?
Great, good answer. Thorough. So, Paul, I wanted to ask you, because I think that most of the work you do is a grassroots campaign for getting the word out for both World Cleanup Day and the digital cleanup. I wanted to just get your take on the fact that we've seen the rise of the influencer, and that the influencer has been very helpful in many cases, and we could capitalize on that. But how do you see that squaring with the fact that influencers are obviously putting out more digital output more digital materials. Like how have you dealt with that? Because the last 5 years between COVID and connecting through digital means, as well as the rise of the influencer, how are you squaring that away? And how would you message that out? That digital cleanup is so important, but we're fighting against a huge onslaught of it.
Yeah, that is a really tricky question. First of all, when we are talking about young people and they are the future, of course they are, but they are also the worst consumers and they are the worst when it comes to the digital world. And the influencers are, of course, the worst ones when it comes to polluting with the different digital things they are doing. And but I mean, we are living in a world now when we need all these things. We have more or less, and we are used to it. So it's but we have to have a little bit of a mental shower and see what we are doing. Actually, that's why the first time I actually talked about this with the digital waste today is. That we need to start thinking, because we are doing it like an automatically thing. We don't think about, okay, sending an email or sending a pictures or, okay, I'm eating bacon in Australia today and I send it to somebody and they look at it and yeah, it has no value, you know, all these things we are doing, most of it, and it becomes waste so fast. So we need to have a little bit more of awareness how to cope with these things. But on the other hand, we also need all this kind of marketing stuff. And then we are using internet, of course, as much as we can. And this is the balance we always have to think about. And I think, like, if you compare to the old fossil cars and the new electric car, there will be new things coming up, so it will be more effective and we're going to save more energy and so on. So I believe strongly in technical solutions for less carbon emissions, and I'm 100% sure we're going to solve the problem. I'm not worried. I'm not so worried about the climate change, actually, because the bottom line of everything is that we are humans. We've been here for many, many years, and we have solved the problem slowly but surely. And the reason for that is because we want to live. So that's why we do it.
Thanks, Paul. Yes, ma'am?
Well, I just had I mean, I think an idea too, like a digital detox day, like you have Meatless Mondays, things like that. It'd be great to get influencers to get involved in something like that and leading it, you know, just having a day of, I mean, just even for your mental health, I think would be a great project to head up with an influencer.
Everybody heard that, and you'll take that out into your communities, get some grassroots campaigns going. Rodrigo, on the 11 zero waste principles, how long were you working on those?
Okay. I think since the beginning.
So life's work.
Yes, because when I start with the zero waste, I start change the design in one restaurant, because I believe the design changed the behavior. So and that's start the process in the 15, 17 years, no, 20 years ago. So, but when I start to put the principles in one list, I think is 5 or so, starting one stage in Italy. Like here, we start to talk and become a philosophical talk. So, and okay, we need this for the moment, because I think you asked for them about the grassroots movement. And I studied a lot because we have a huge movement to zero waste in Brazil that's involved a lot of people and a lot of different people. So we get the entrepreneurs, the decision makers, the teachers and universities, the youth, and all the classes, all kind of people. And I think that's what connect them is the principles. And one of these principles is the respect for the other acknowledgement. So because that's so this respect is one very important principle that and it's make all the group connected by values. So it doesn't matter the other. So that's why we spread it's not quickly because it took 2 decades, but it is strong. It is strong, and there's a strong base. So because we had some politicians that established a goal and then changed like here now. So like yours, Charles, now that is promoted. The plastic straw now is promoted, change everything. So, but if you have a strong base, it doesn't matter for us. It's just one rain. The sun is coming again. So.
All right, thank you. And then Tony, I wanted to ask you because you did stakeholder outreach for your plan. So you did have a vision you started with. You knew it needed to be inclusive. And you are an island country. So you're obviously very, very similar to Florida, where you have a lot of waterways, you have a lot of access, that people have access to the water. And what was the reception like from the community? Not from the business leaders, not from the government, because you pulled a lot of people in, but from the general public. What was their attendance like? How many showed up, like percentage? And then what was their feedback? What was their reaction to it?
Yes, in terms of community, I think that the community is committed. They will if the, but they what they have been telling us if that they want to be part of this solution, but they need that the government provide the mechanism so they can participate and be part of it. Because I can talk to them about recycling, about reduction, but if we don't give them the tools of how to do that, they can't. And but in general terms, the community is willing to do, and also that they want to is to be informed of what's going on with what they are when they participate in the programs because they want to be sure that it's managed adequately.
Right. And I guess it also shows a lot of respect for their time and involvement
Sure.
when you're organized. And so I would think in South Florida, then it's pretty clear there is a wonderful grassroots movement here, but you do need to reach out to your electeds or your city staff and just try and find your champion to help that set up these workshops where people come and take their time and bring their interests forward and want to be heard and included. And so, because it seems like you have to find champions in your community. And I'll speak to you, you need to find champions in your community that can bring you forward because the grassroots campaign can't do it all themselves, but they can make a lot of noise and use the power of their voice. Are there questions that anyone, oh, lots, come on up. Love seeing a lot of hands go up.
Question for anyone? So, Jackie, actually, I got a question for you. So in the current kind of political climate and kind of where we're at, it seems like outside of us dirty environmentalists, no one really cares about the natural, protecting the environment side of this. But you showed a picture of the kids in, I believe it was Manila, waste picking and picking up trash. How can we articulate and share the humanitarian aspects of plastic pollution, and how can we effectively communicate that to get other people to realize how serious these issues are?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, there's a great organization called Basel Action Network, who's tracking all the illegal waste trade that's happening all around the world. I mean, a lot of times I just feel like the U.S., one of our biggest exports is our plastic waste. We don't have a means to deal with it. I mean, that report came out where they talked about all of the leakage points of plastic into the ocean, but where's that originating? Where's that being designed? Where's that being marketed? Where's that being pushed out to? So we have a big responsibility. So I think it's really important that we talk about the full life cycle death cycle of plastic, from extraction to waste in the full story. But to your question, though, I think that plastics and health is going to be the big game changer. The more that we can communicate about that, because there's no getting around that. It's toxics in and toxics out. But I mean, the feedstock for plastic, 99% of it comes from fossil fuels, and not only fossil fuels, but the toxic waste byproduct of the fossil fuel and gas industry. So think about that. That's the feedstock. That's where they're starting with all these chemicals, unregulated chemicals. Now they've created a market for their toxic waste, which is plastic. We're wrapping our food in it. Where there's a lot of great things that came out of it, but it's really a durable material. So that's where you come down to design. So telling that full story of plastic and really what it's about, I think is very important. And I do feel that it is a nonpartisan issue. Oceana came out with a great poll and talks about, I think it's something like 81% of the populace agrees that there's a problem with plastic, but also they're talking about reduction of production, which is huge. I also like to think of it, it's a contaminant. Plastic is a contaminant. It's a contaminant in our recycling system. Recycling is not broken. Plastic broke it. It should be taken out of the recycling system, I think, right now. And every day we talk about plastic and recycling, we're perpetuating that myth that it's actually being recycled, and it's not. So it's speaking truth to plastic is what I really advocate for as well. But also talking about how it's a contaminant in our systems, in our environments, in our communities, and in our bodies. And I think that is going to be, right now. And I used to call the straw was like the gateway issue, talking about the bigger problem of plastic pollution. But that's the key of the door now. Everyone's in the room talking about plastic, and this is the hard work. This is where the real systems change has to happen, and it falls on all of us. So in any way that you can communicate that, like I said, I mean, art changes people. Our art is very important too. Any kind of method that you're good at, do it and tell that story, because you know the truth, and we do have truth on our side. So that was the mantra I told myself when I was waiting for the prompt to go on Fox News. Actually, I was all relaxed, and then I closed my eyes, and I kept telling myself, the segment before me, the guys were yelling, and all of a sudden my heart rate went up and everything. I'm like, what am I doing? I had that moment like, this is bad. And then I just closed my eyes and I took a few deep breaths, and this was my mantra. This is not a fight. This is not a fight. We've got truth on our side. And then I opened my eyes, and then all this batshit crazy stuff was in my ear. But anyway.
Thanks for taking one for the team. Other questions?
We have a question from Zoom reflecting on the poll that showed 81% of voters are in favor of policies that reduce single-use plastic, yet elected officials either ignore or discourage plastic reduction. How do we get the politicians to make this an action and not just a talking point? How do we increase this priority to the general public? This was asked by Noel Cleveland from Sierra Club, Miami.
Thank you. And since all of you know so much about plastic productions and toxins, did you want to take that, Tony?
Yeah.
All right.
I will use the example of Puerto Rico. We have the groups went to the legislators. They request like banning plastic, single-use plastic. We passed a law in Puerto Rico in 2022. The law probably have some opportunities to improve it. We made a regulation. We have some aclaratory for that regulation, because there is also a struggling between the industry and what the the law has. Um, but we understand that that law is not going to be derogated. That law probably we can work to improve it and using the best practice and the experience that we had, because that law in Puerto Rico, what we present to ban some materials, but they tell that it's not specific. If I need to put everything, I will make a lot of pages of specific products. But we understand that what the most important thing in the law is that we don't want greenwash in this process, because what we were talking is that anyone can put that is biodegradable or could be compostable, but we need we are going to require that it complies with ASTM 6423, that is going to guarantee me that is compostable. Um, that it need to be certified by BPI, because if you go to the store and you are going to be the package is going to could have whatever they want it to mention. And biodegradable not necessarily means that it's good for the environment, and being better is not being good.
Better is not being good. Any more questions? We have time for one more? Is that about right? We have 1 minute. Is there one question that we can deal with in 1 minute? Please, come on up. And
Hi.
I'm gonna direct it to-
I was going to direct it to the group actually, but Kelly Dennings, she, her with the Center for Biological Diversity. When I think about zero waste, it's a lot of organics. And I know just one or few of you mentioned it. I was wondering if you could talk more about organics composting at the international level.
Okay. Rodrigo, do you want to talk about that?
I think the organic is the easier way and the first step to get the awareness about everything, because this I think everything is a strategy. So I use a lot one curve called Rogers curve. It's a curve of adoption of innovation. And I use a lot this curve because we need to identify the 2.5% that is innovators and put them on the stage. And we also need to discover in each niche what is the trigger that we use to activate that niche. So it's difficult to talk about composting when you have a huge density. So you need to, because it's a huge transformation. So you need to find what you get that people to start, because you can change everything at the same time. You cannot do this and now we have a zero waste. So there's a path, there's a journey, and each people, each group, there's journey, there's path, and there's trigger also to start. So in Parma, in Italy, they start with a paper. In Oslo, they start with a teacher park. I don't know the teacher park.
Tetra Paks, yes.
In my country, we start with composting because I live in one island. So there is no, and in the density territory, we with glass. So we choose in the density glass because they understand that the worker needed dignity, that the glass is very dangerous for them, for the environmental is cost a lot also, and but who in the universities is very good the composting, because they have time, they live in one community, they have space. So it's dependent how we will start. There is not one solution for everybody. So, and you need to involve the people, and I love it's like you do. Is you have. I think that the one that I do the same is you have first transparency. So you need a diagnosis, and show this diagnosis. We have this problem, and then we need to set a goal. And this goal, each one has their path to get there. It's like a war. I don't like this comparison, but it's like a war. We need the infantry, we need the arm, we need the artillery, so, the bomb. We need the air force, we need the navy, we need the diplomacy, we need the spies. We need everybody, and we need to respect the path which each one. The important is everybody, there's agreement to get that goal. And each one decide how you get there. That's the important. Because we need to impose for everybody the same time in the same way. Each one has one time, one way, and needs more, think more, and need to break a lot of things in their brain. So is it?
Okay. Thank you. So we need a
Oh, sorry. Before go, we have the COP30 in Brazil this year, and it's very important because we are in the Amazon. The last 2 years, the COP was hosted by petroleum people, the oil countries, and now we are into the Amazon. Is a huge challenge for Brazil because we don't have it's not a big city. It's a big city, but don't have the whole infrastructure for everybody. And we want to involve, and we are involved, all the native people and the trash pickers and everybody. There's one effort, a huge effort to make them understand that the COP as an event must be a zero waste event, because this is promote the public exemplarity, one of the principles. So, and we'll be in November. I expect that we can organize a US delegation to there, and I wait you, and I ask for you share about this event.
Wonderful.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that. I think we have to wrap it up because we're over. I want to thank you all for attending. I want to thank you for your work, and I want to thank you for sharing your work with everyone, especially with South Florida. So, and if you have questions or comments, find them at lunch.